Hey everyone, it's Thursday afternoon. It's just gone 4 o'clock and I'm speaking to Ammo today. But before that, there's a little bit of this.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
Ammo. Is that how you like to say it, Ammo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
There may be another way. Who knows?
Yeah, like when you go get coffee and people are like, "What's your name?" So they can like write it on your cup. It's always what? Emma? Amber? Like so many. I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah. Yes. That's what it is.
I love it. Well, I get that with Graham. Believe it or not, I get that with Graham in a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I go in Starbucks and they say, "What's your name?" Graham. And they just look at you like, it should be a basic skill test, I think, that all of these people take before they go and work in these coffee shops, is to understand names.
Yeah.
Be able to write names.
Maybe we need to like have a little keypad where we just like type our own name in, and then it's like, there's no confusion.
I actually really like that idea. That you actually type your name in and it prints out a little label and you stick that on the side of the cup. That's good. Well, in fact, it even actually prints out a nice little design accompanying your name on the whole of the surface of the cup.
Get some AI in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of takes your name. Maybe it does a Google search for your name and comes up with, something really cool. In your case, with some of the cool photos you've got and the artwork, it would be a really cool cup, wouldn't it? So that'd be great.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Custom design. I wonder how long it would take you to get your coffee.
It would probably be cold by the time you get it. That's the only downside to it. So where did the name come from? I mean, were you actually born with this name, or is this a name that you have given yourself?
This is a name that was given to me not at birth. In high school, a friend, she was really good at giving everyone nicknames. So
cool. Did she have a nickname?
She did not. And no one could like give her one, which was like the whole like sad thing is like, I feel like maybe she was the one who really, really, really wanted a nickname, but we like couldn't give it to her, sadly. Now I feel really guilty.
You see, I understand this technique though. I understand this technique because, I was like that. I couldn't dance. So I took up DJing. And I think sometimes if you can't do something, or you don't think that there's something for you, you end up giving it to everybody else, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So maybe she didn't want a nickname, and in not wanting a nickname, she gave everybody else a nickname, knowing that would make it even more difficult to give her a nickname. So where did it come from? What did it mean then? Why did she call you Ammo? Because that's a great name.
Thank you. I think I was just like a little rowdy when I was younger. My real name's Amberly, and I don't know. It just like came out of nowhere. We played music together, and she was a little crazy. And then when we got together, we were like extra crazy. So there was a lot going on, and I think it just came to her one day. I don't know, like just
from it's like ammunition, or it's here comes ammo.
Yeah, kind of something like that. I guess I would just like come out of nowhere and be like, "Hey, I'm here for the party. Where's it at?" And then I would just disappear.
Well, that's cool. And a whole class of people with these little nicknames. But maybe you could incorporate some of those nicknames into a song at some point and have a whole song of nicknames. That would be quite an interesting thing.
I'd have to go like do some like memory work, because I'm like high school days. I actually didn't finish high school. There's like a proficiency test you can test to like get out of school, and I ended up doing that and going to college like early. And so my high school days are just like a blur. It was just me as like this little like crusty punk kid who was just, I can't deal with it and I need to get out of here. And I like, took me like a couple months, but I convinced my parents to let me test out, and I did. And so my high school years were very short.
You're traveling at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in New York right now. I'm from Los Angeles, and I've lived there like most of my life. And that's kind of primarily where I'm based, like music wise, and like all my, people are there, and like where I do my recording and stuff. But during the whole like COVID thing, I ended up moving to Northern California into the forest, into like nowhere. It was like the complete opposite. Wow. And I know it's like, I'm such a city girl. Like I want like someone to like spit on my foot as I'm like walking down the street, and like the like great smell of trash of New York in the summer, it's like, I don't know. I guess it makes me like, it's like this energy that's different. So I knew the whole idea of going to the forest was going to be this like challenge for me. So I just decided, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go up there. And I had finished like 8 songs for this last song is the first of those songs. And I was just like, I'm going to work on music, and, like nothing was open. And lo and behold, I like move up there and I'm like, everything's open, but the grocery store is 25 minutes drive to our house. So like we find this like little wine place that like we like become friends with like 4 or 5 people that live in this little tiny micro town and become winos. And so I just worked on my music and drank wine. And
what did it teach you? What did that whole experience teach you? Did it teach you something?
Yeah, that I don't really like living in the forest.
But you don't like being a Billy No Mates and being isolated.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine for a little bit, and I knew it was going to be difficult, and I knew it wasn't going to be forever. So I was like, okay, let's do it. We'll like move, see how it goes. And it was beautiful, and we have a lot of space, and you
didn't kind of get in touch with nature or anything like that. Then you didn't find yourself.
I did some hiking, and I took a lot of cool photos because I also do photography, so that was nice. But I'm more of like a people person. Like I don't like to hang out with a lot of people, but I like to be in the energy of people, and I think that's why I really like places like New York. Or like bigger cities, because I like the energy of it. So you can just like walk down the street and there's like people, or I can just walk to the coffee shop, get my coffee, and I kind of get that energy, but without having to like, talk to too many people also.
Did it in some respects though help with the music? Did it give you a sense of kind of loneliness, or if you like isolationism, that actually seeped through to anything that you were doing, so you could actually kind of filter that kind of isolationism?
Well, it's kind of funny because I already had felt very isolated in Los Angeles even before the pandemic, like just as a person. And I think just artists in general kind of, you get that like existentialism, or I don't know, maybe I'm speaking too broadly on behalf of all artists, but like the people that I know and work with, like we're always like questioning things. And for me, I'm like, life is so absurd and ridiculous. Like, why do I feel this way? This like innate pressure to like create or like work on the music or do whatever I'm doing. And then I stop myself and I'm like, this is pointless. Like, why? So I would go play a show, and then I would go home right after I'd play, and then I would just like sit in my room, and I'd be like, okay, well that was cool, I guess. And like, so it's like this weird up and down all the time. So the isolation thing is something like I feel like it comes through my music a lot. I think as a person, I'm pretty like fun and upbeat, but like my music can be really dark. And if you read the lyrics, you're just like, oh, okay, like that's a little not like, I don't know. It's a weird balance. I feel like if I can channel that darkness into my music, then I'm freed up to just.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it quite
person?
I was going to say, is it quite cathartic for you writing? Is it?
Yeah, it totally is. It's like one of those things where I also have like a hard time expressing myself verbally, like through words. But if I sit down and I start writing lyrics and stuff, I find that like I can find the vocabulary and I can find the melodies and I can find the mood and the feeling. And for me with the music stuff, like the feeling and the mood of it is like the most important. And also like the lyrics, I do tend to like obsess over them a little, but it usually just kind of comes and then out, and then I like demo it really quick, and then I just edit and then re-record stuff. So, but yeah, it helps me really kind of just stay balanced, I guess, as a human.
Where did music start for you? I mean, what sort of age were you when you first started writing music or really getting into music?
I mean, I've always kind of been into music. Like when I was super young, I would dance around to like Paula Abdul and Gloria Estefan in the living room. So probably like, like 4 or 5. And then
can you still do all the moves to Opposites Attract?
I probably, like, if we put it on there,
yeah,
my old
quite
roommate,
scary, that, isn't it? Yeah.
My old roommate and I would put on music like Wham and stuff, and we would just crank it and just dance, or we try to copy the video moves, like whatever, like, because we're both really into like 80s stuff, and we try to like recreate the dance. So I'm sure if like we like played it, I could figure it out. I might not look very cool doing it, but I would try.
But you're not sound wise, sonically, you're not Paula Abdul or Wham, are you? So where did the influence of, I suppose, I mean, you've said in your kind of press release there's a goth element there. So but where did that kind of dark element come in, and what sort of bands influenced that?
Well, so maybe around like 13, 14, I was given a cassette tape that was, one side was Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit Frankenchrist, and then the other side was Subhumans EPLP. And I had this little red boombox with like a strap on it, and I would just play that tape, and I would just flip the tape, and it would be in my backpack at school.
That's your played to death. Played to death.
Yeah. So like that was kind of it, the beginning of the music stuff, and then I just really got into Crass records, a lot of stuff like Flex of Pink Indians, Honeybane, like all the UK stuff. And there was a record store up the highway from me. It was like maybe 25 minutes on the bus. So I would ditch school to go get records. It was, so I grew up in San Clemente, and that's in Orange County, Southern California. And up the way in Laguna Beach, this band, The Stitches, owned a record shop called Underdog Records. And they had like all the good stuff. And so I would just ditch school, take the bus up the one, and go by.
Did you become well known in that? Did you become well known in that record store? I always love it when you become well known in a record store.
I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, I was like very timid and scared. to like talk to anyone or like ask questions or just be like, hello, like, can I, but I had to with them because if you wanted to listen to a record, you had to be like, can I like listen to this? And then they give you the headphones. And it was just like this tiny little musty shop in the middle of Laguna Beach, which you would think is just like super Orange County posh. And it was just like this little like cave of goodness, but I don't know if they like, I doubt, I think like lots of kids kind of, I feel like a lot of kids in Orange County felt outcasted because it was so, there's so many like classes, like it's very classist, I think. And there's like a lot of bougie people who are there. And then you have like a lot of like people who are just not that. There's like this weird other type. And so I don't know if they remember me, but I've seen the Stitches play a million times. And it was kind of cool growing up in South Orange County because we had a venue called The Depot, and it was an old train caboose in San Juan Capistrano, and no one knew about it. So like I would see bands like DI or TSOL there with like 6 people. And I'm like, this is so amazing. And it was all ages. So I could be like 14, 15 going to these shows. Which is really cool. So that's like a lot of my like younger years was very much into like the Orange County, LA punk, and then also like UK stuff.
And what do you write on? What main instrument do you write on, or do you dabble in lots?
I'm a bit of a mess when it comes to writing. So if there's if there's a keyboard in front of me, I'm like, cool. If there's a guitar, a bass, it doesn't matter. Like a lot of times I will just throw down like 2 notes, just like strum it back and forth just to give me kind of like a rhythm. And then I'll just sing a melody to it. And then I'll delete the guitar or whatever that like 2-note like rhythm is. And then I'll just add like swap it out for something else and just start building everything from there. And it kind of like, I think what got me to that point was Sue's demos, especially the one of Christine, where it's just like, and she's just singing like Christine, and like it's so sparse and simple, but you're still like drawn in. You're like, this is so amazing. And it's like the mood and the energy of it, and just the like, she's kind of like nonchalantly singing it, but it's like that, like she's just, there's some emotive thing going on there. And I think music that is super deep and emotional really like affects me, especially stuff like Roland S. Howard is like a huge influence to me. I always like argue with people. I'm like, they're like Nick Cave, and I'm like Roland S. Howard.
What I really like about it is actually that the musical understructure is actually, in a way, quite simplistic. And I'm not being rude by saying that, but actually, what you do in terms of your voice is really fills the song out, and I feel it kind of emphasizes the voice, which is really, as someone that's always been into vocals and been a vocalist myself, I really like that. I really like the fact that that you're not distracted by what's going on underneath. It's, as you say, you have a very nice way of just keeping the song building gradually with quite simple elements, but done well underneath. But it's the voice that you really hone in on. Is that what you wanted to try and achieve?
I just love layers, and so in my head I'll sing something and it'll be like one note or whatever, a variation, and then I'm just like, but that needs to be a little more like fluffy. I always say it's like my lead is here, and then the harmonies and everything are like the cloud that like kind of wraps around the lead. So I never want anything to be like mixed to like pop, but I also kind of want you to hear stuff. So I did struggle for a very long time with I want to bury my vocals, and I want everything to be like My Bloody Valentine and just like shoegaze, but
yeah.
I have like my music taste just spans like so much. And, you know, like I also really love like Kate Bush and like Enya and like stuff like that. So very like ethereal, but then like Kate Bush is pop. And then I like have my like weird crust punk stuff, which I don't play like music like that, but it's definitely like influenced me over the years, you know. And I had a post-punk band, like one of my earliest bands, you know, so I've gone kind of through the stages, and I always thought everything had to be like loud and hard and like crazy. And now I get to this place where I'm making this like weird, lush, soft, etheric music.
Well,
and I'm like, what happened?
Lush is a good musical reference, actually. There's two songs on this. Yeah, absolutely. There's two songs on this, what you want to call it, EP, etc. First one, Rose and Crown, which it was an interesting title because over here, Rose and Crown is actually the name of a lot of pubs. I don't know whether you know that.
I saw that when I was like doing my little like Google. I was like, oh, how cute. It's like a place to go. I'll just make it a plus sign instead. So like Rose plus Crown, but it is Rose and Crown. And yeah, I did notice that. And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. And that one to me, whenever I listen to songs, they always kind of take me to other songs that I've listened to, or other musicians that I've listened to some extent. You know, obviously, this is very unique to you, but there's always some kind of connection you make with something else that you've listened to. And I'm just going to tell you what the connections are, and you can agree or disagree with them. But when I was listening to that one, I don't know why it took me there, but actually it took me to a group that was called Miranda Sex Garden. I don't know whether you ever heard of Miranda Sex Garden. Yeah. Totally. So that's cool. Yeah, thank you. It was just the way that the vocals layered, and you know, you just, I mean, they obviously did sort of more casual type things, etc. with some of their work, but it was just the way it kind of built vocally. Really took me there, and which was great.
That's a good reference, and that's cool.
Thank you.
Not many people would, like, you know.
There you go. And the second song, Total Recall, which again obviously is an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, but not in this case. Okay, so just making sure that people realise that these are.
Well, it's kind of funny because I do really like that movie, and I always think that like, because the world is kind of having some environmental problems, and I'm always like telling my boyfriend, I'm like, don't worry, we're just gonna live in a bubble, like in Total Recall on Mars, and then it'll be like The Fifth Element or like Blade Runner, and we'll just get to wear cool outfits and like makeup and stuff. So like, don't worry. So now every time I think of this song, I'm like, in my head, I'm like thinking about like that, like the actual movie, and I'm like, oh.
And which scene? What the scene where his head like blows up and you get those?
Well, that scene's so good when he like slides down the outside and then his eyes like pop out.
It can pop out. I mean, it's just classic, isn't it? But that song to me, especially in the kind of the kind of loopy guitar line, reminded me a little bit of XX.
Oh, okay, I don't really listen to them, but I remember. I swear I just live in like the 70s and 80s and like a little bit of the 90s, like music wise. And I have to like, a lot of friends of mine make really great music. And so I'm always like, okay, local scene, must dive in to know what's going on today. Cause there's some really good music coming out. But I tend to get stuck in that whole era. So like when bands like XX, that was like early 2000s?
Well, yeah, I mean, still really around today. I mean, they're still really current band today. But yeah,
okay. Well, then I'm gonna go check them out again. I'll revisit because I've been trying to. I get stuck in my like little music hole of like older music, and I'm trying to kind of pay more attention and like, you know, like.
I think we all do to a certain extent with music, though. I mean, it is a funny one, you know. I think that I have got the most eclectic listening taste of anybody. And I do honestly listen to just about anything. But yet my wife will go, yeah, but you listen to that a lot. And I think I think you get into little cycles where there's certain things that you just gravitate to for a little while and hold on to, and there's obviously always certain groups or bands or artists that you always come back to because and I don't think it's just the music. I think it's because you perhaps lived through a particular moment in your life with that music, etc., and you just have to keep kind of revisiting it to pull out some kind of emotion that you need to kind of revisit.
It's like a cable into the past.
Yeah. So what are you mentioned the Dead Kennedys, etc. What are your go-to ones that you keep going back to? Music-wise?
So Dead Can Dance is like a huge one for me, and I like that, like the darker Middle Eastern kind of stuff. So this woman who's really amazing, I saw her play, obviously not last year, but like right before the pandemic, Azam Ali. I like Natasha Atlas. And then there's this band Vaz, which I don't remember who's in it, but just very like etheric, tribal, kind of like lots of percussion. And I really love percussive stuff, like rhythmic and just like repetitive, but built. And I guess that translates into my music because
it does.
I like repetitive stuff, but it has to build or I get bored. Like I tried being a drummer when I was younger and I was like, oh, this, I don't understand. But like the instrumentation or like my vocal like I like to say that my vocals are like a whole other instrument, just as the way I like to build things and with my vocals. And I just like couldn't do drums because I was like, this isn't, I'm like, I need something that has like texture. But as I've been working more with a friend who's been he helped me with the drum stuff on these songs, and we've been playing with like velocity and like how hard you hit something and the reverberation, and then you can really hear like how it lingers or how like staccato it is, and like adding effects and things like that. So it's like kind of opened my mind, but it's like this very small thing you get to work with, and then you kind of like have to figure it out, you know, and
I
see
think
what
it's
you can
something
do.
I think it's a skill that sometimes only a drummer that's a real drummer can really get to, which is understanding that kind of space between each hit of the drum.
Yeah.
That's the key bit to it. I mean, if you're not a drummer, you kind of like go, right, so I have it and it goes boom there and then boom there and but that bit in between and what happens in that space, and whether it may be there's not another drum in there, but there's, as you say, the echo of the drum or the reverberation of the drum and how that sounds. That's something that drummers are really good drummers are really good at understanding that space.
And I think that goes for all music, because even when I was younger, I would just play continuously, just like fill all the space, fill all the holes, like don't let anything linger. And now I'm just like one string, it's like bing, and I'm like, what can we do with these knobs and like make that one sound kind of like go. I always say send it to space.
Go. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think learning that is really, really, really interesting. Learning that space. Certainly, all of the great musicians that I've ever worked with or talked to, etc., have always said it's all about the space. It's all about getting that right, you know. And it was kind of the dawning of that for me. I'm going to talk prog rock for a minute, so excuse me. But
hey, I like some prog. It's cool.
Well, it was but the dawning of that for me was my music teacher when I was very young. Actually played us some Pink Floyd, and actually just played us "Shine on You, Crazy Diamond," and just the beginning of that where he's literally just holding one chord. Yeah. And forever, you know, and he goes, "That's one chord." You know, and you just And it was such a moment because we were all used to sort of like pop music at the time, Duran Duran and Culture Club and whatever, and everything was quite fast and moving. And suddenly someone was playing you something where someone was holding one chord but keeping your attention just because of what was happening. It was a bit of a revelation, really. But it's always
I love that stuff. That and Pink Floyd, I listened to a lot when I was younger too. I kind of like took over my parents' record collection, so I was very much into like the Beach Boys and the Beatles. And my dad's a huge Beatles fan. And if you're in Southern California, you listen to 95.5 KLOS, and that's just like Zeppelin, Beatles, like on the radio, like constantly. So it's like.
Do you have to do this with the volume knob? Because obviously Led Zeppelin a fair bit louder than the Beatles, so it's like up for Beatles, down a bit because it's Led Zeppelin.
And so and then the Doors mixed in there, of course.
Right.
I listened to the Doors a ton too. It was funny. I would be listening to like Subhumans, and then like Light My Fire would come on next on my mixtape, and it'd be like so weird. But I don't know, Jim Morrison's kind of punk rock. So absolutely. Well, essentially, essential punk rock, really. Are you like Jim Morrison when you play live, or do you turn into, like when your friend called you Ammo when you were young? Do you turn into some kind of wild animal when you play live? No, actually, quite the opposite. I think I just stand there and I'm like. And I just sing more like the Beatles, like,
really quite. You'd actually quite like to have
those.
You'd actually quite like to have those suits on, so that it almost feels like you shouldn't be moving. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I think because I play an instrument and I sing, I'm kind of like in my space, and but I like the instrumental. So when I get to like. When I don't have to sing, I'll walk around the stage and rock out as much as I can. I have another band. I'm not sure the trajectory of it. It's called Brass Box, and
well, that's good.
It's name. Thank you. It was I stole it from. Oh goodness, I always forget this. The guy who wrote the Basketball Diaries. Forced Entries was the book, and I was reading the book, and it was like something. I grabbed the Brass Box, and I was like, that is a good name. I'm gonna write that down. So I saved it, and then became
good
the band,
solid name,
which was cool. Yeah, and I was really happy with that name. But so I don't know. We're still kind of like figuring things out because we were about to play shows when the whole COVID thing happened, and we had to cancel. It was like March, like our show was like March 19th or something. And I think it was like March 13th that all this stuff happened. So, at least everything closed.
Are Brass Box a bit harder in terms of sound? Or?
It's more like My Bloody Valentine, Lush. I always get the Cranes reference. Allison, I forget her last name. The singer, but anyways, like a little more heavy, and we're a 4-piece, and so it's fun to like the guys like kind of rock out, pretty hard, and then I'm just there like
talking about Lush. Have you caught up with Nikki from Lush, her super group per se? Have you?
No, I don't know about that.
Have you not heard Piroshka?
No, I should probably check that out.
I should have worn my Piroshka t-shirt. Yeah, fantastic. one of the last bands that I went to see before everything in the world shut down.
Okay.
It wasn't their fault. Just a little disclaimer. But yeah, they were fantastic. And I think they're currently working on the second album. But do check out Brickbat, which was their first album. If you like Lush, I'm gonna check it out. but you like. If you like that whole period, really, and you like a good guitar line, and you like the layered vocals and everything, you'll really love them.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Sounds cool.
always there to share. So what's next on the agenda for Ammo? What you're working on maybe trying to get this other band up and running. Certainly from a live point of view. When is this album going to surface itself?
I'm kind of I wanted to put out a song. So the first song, Total Recall, was a cover from that band, The Sound, from the 80s, Adrian Borland. And my label for Brass Box did the compilation. So Brass Box did a cover, and then I was like, oh, I want to do a cover. I've never really produced my own music. I mean, co-produced, like telling people what to do, but I never like sat down at the computer and just like did a whole song by myself, including programming drums and stuff. So I was like, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to do a song. And I did it, and I had all these demos done. And so I put out that song, and then the songs were just sitting there. And then when the pandemic happened, I was like by myself. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just like work on my music that I have. So that's kind of why like the band and I just like kind of split. Not that I'm not with the band. Like if I'm not part of the band, it's not going to happen. But
no, it's just the time-wise.
Yeah, and it was like the type of music I wanted it to be just like a little bit different, but there's a similarity. Like if you like one, you're probably gonna like the other. So my old drummer had a band called Black Flamingo, and he just lived down the street from me, and I was like, quarantine with me, let's like work on these songs. And he's like, okay. So we just spent a few months working on the songs, and then we finished 8 songs in a couple months. And then he's a doctor, and he had to move to New York to do his residency because he had just graduated. And so he left, like there was a timestamp too. So we were like, by the end of May, this must be done. So we finished the songs, and then we did them. And then I just sat on them because it was like the pandemic and all this stuff. And I was just like, what do we do? And everyone's like, let's hang out on Zoom. And I'm like, I don't want to, because I feel like you have to be like, hey, what are you doing? What have you been up to? And I'm like, I don't know, just sitting in my house like you. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of like I don't want to say depression, but like or maybe discontent with the future of the world. And it was like, well, maybe we're all gonna die. Like, it's fine. And I'll just like, why do I have to work towards anything? We're gonna be dead in like a couple months anyways. I'm just like weird, like, why does it matter stuff? And then finally towards closer to fall, I was like, all right, I'm going to start like mixing this stuff and getting it moving again. So I started planning out things, and I was like, I'm just going to release a song and see what happens. Like I released Total Recall the year before, and then, or actually was it 2019? I don't remember. Oh no, it was the year before. And then, so I was like, I'll put one song out and see how it goes. So last Friday, put Rose and Crown out, just kind of riding that wave. And then I'm going to release another single in a couple months. And we'll see how that goes. And then maybe I'll do singles. Maybe I'll do a record. I mean, I have enough songs. It's just, as an independent artist, I don't know. I feel like as a new artist and an independent artist, just throwing out one whole record when no one knows who you are yet is kind of like when you're in a new project, it's hard because it could just go out and just no one hears it. But it's like, and this goes for like a lot of friends that I know, they'll like put out a record and it's amazing and so great, and it just gets lost in the ether, and there's no promotion or marketing on it. Because it's like we're all independent. We don't know what we're doing half the time, and everything changes so fast. And you have these huge artists who have like teams of people doing everything for you or telling you what to do. For me, I'm just like, I don't know. What am I supposed to be doing? Like,
Yeah, and it's a very different situation if you can go out and play these songs live. Yeah, because
that's the other thing. Yeah,
if you can go out and play them live, you can gauge what a reaction is. You can you know that you're building a following for the songs, because people are responding to the songs. So and then it's a case of, well, you want to get them out there into the world because people are coming to see the songs, and what it's like as a fan. You want the songs because you've seen that, you've seen the artist. You want to be able to take some of that away. It's a completely different thing. So totally get that.
It was I definitely, the whole getting stuck at home thing changed my perspective of, or at least my trajectory and my personal perspective. I started focusing more on online stuff and like fan building and trying to just connect with individuals, which has kind of been cool because I'm just old school. Like, I just want to go out and play live, and maybe someone will see us in the audience, and because we're in Los Angeles, you never know. And like, that's how I've met most of my network of like music people, is just you play a show or you go out to shows and you just talk to people. And with not being able to do that, and still kind of not, like, things are just barely even starting again, it's like, how do you move forward as a musician? So you kind of have to like pivot or whatever and figure it out. And so I just started learning like kind of online marketing stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's what people do. I'm like, this is so weird. Like, it's a whole other world to me. And I'm like, people have been doing this since like the 50s, like when advertising and marketing,
absolutely,
like, it became a thing.
Look, I started an online social media marketing business in the middle of the pandemic, but it was the right opportunity, because actually it's something that I'd always wanted to do, but what I had the space and the opportunity to actually look at what people were doing and see that it was so awful. So and I just felt, being a creative, I just felt, look, actually there's two ways you can address this situation, which is, one is to just look at how people are switching off from online stuff because of it. You mentioned the Zoom thing earlier, because everybody got zoomed out, etc. But with any kind of space, there's an opportunity to look at it and go, yeah, but actually, how can you actually make that space really resonate with people? How can you do something in that space that is more creative, that is better, that isn't just that, and if you put passion and creativity into any space, you will actually change that space as well. So I think it's thrown up good opportunities as much as it's taken opportunities away. But I really do hope that we get back to seeing you and music sometime soon. And I for one, are looking forward to listening to the rest of this album. So
thank you.
If at any stage you just want to leak it to me to listen to it, I've been more than happy to give you some other references back on this album.
I mean, you never know. I can just like send you a SoundCloud private link. We'll see.
Absolutely. It's not going to go anywhere other than in these ears. Okay. So no, that would be good. Amo, it's been great talking to you today. I hope that we speak again at some stage later down the line, and I hope that at some stage we get to meet and share a drink and perhaps listen to some music. That would be marvelous as well.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
So do wish you well. Is that a hotel room, by the way?
Oh no, this is my friend's apartment. She's
got a very very clean apartment, a very very, I mean, immaculate.
She just moved in and has been. Right. She's just like the hardest worker. She makes beautiful hats. Her company is called Boctazo, and she moved in this new place. And there's it's a first floor flat, and then there's a basement that spans the whole bottom floor. So she has her hat we call it the hat dungeon, but she has a like a bed in the back. And so just been staying here, and I'll be in New York for a couple months. And then I'm actually hoping to go to Europe in August and kind of just roam around. I did book a show in New York in August, but I'm probably going to have to cancel it, sadly, because timing doesn't work. But I plan on playing some shows in September down in LA, maybe doing like a little mini West Coast thing with a friend of mine. He's in a band called Thief. Pretty cool stuff. And yeah, I don't know, but I plan on playing hopefully soon. And I don't know. Yeah.
Well, do one on my birthday. Do one on my birthday, and think of me.
What's your birthday?
30th of September. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Try and do one on my birthday and think of me. Now, when we put this out onto Twitter, or we redo this on Twitter and we repost it again, do tag your friend and their hats business in it.
Oh yeah, I will. I don't know if she has a Twitter, but I'll link to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I didn't use Twitter, and I've had one forever, and I was like, how does this? I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm like, a repost, a retweet, requote, a response, a thread. I'm like, okay, I'm still like, I don't know. I'm just like Instagram picture. Because I'm like a visual artist too, you know.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. This is actually going out live on, and people will know because they're watching it. This is going out live on LinkedIn and Twitter and and that thing called YouTube, which somebody owns.
Oh yeah, I like YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. It's where we all learn these days, isn't it? If you need to learn something, where do you go? The University of YouTube. So there we go. Yeah. Amo, thanks very much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to keep listening to this EP, and I really look forward to hearing the SoundCloud. But until I do, bye for now.
Thank you.